In a small town in the middle of America, where fields stretched far and wide under a bright blue sky, life moved at a slow and peaceful pace. The people there knew each other by name, and children played freely without worrying about much. Among these children was Lily Thompson, an 8-year-old girl with curly brown hair and big, curious eyes that always seemed to sparkle with wonder. She loved exploring the world around her, whether it was chasing butterflies in the meadow or climbing trees to get a better view of the horizon. One warm summer evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon and paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lily decided to spend some time outside before dinner. Her parents, Jack and Emma, were busy inside preparing food, so she grabbed her favorite stuffed bunny and headed to the backyard. It wasn't anything fancy, just a patch of grass surrounded by a wooden fence, but to Lily, it felt like her own little kingdom. She twirled around, pretending to be a princess in a magical land, laughing softly as the cool breeze brushed against her cheeks. As she spun, something unusual caught her eye. At first, she thought it might just be a trick of the light, but then she realized it was more than that. High above, strange lights were moving across the sky. They weren't airplanes or helicopters. They didn't make any noise, and their glow was unlike anything she had ever seen. Bright and shimmering, they danced back and forth, almost as if they were alive. Curiosity bubbled up inside her, and she stopped spinning to watch them more closely. The lights grew brighter and closer, descending slowly toward the ground. Lily tilted her head, trying to figure out what they could be. Were they stars falling from the sky? Or maybe aliens coming to visit Earth? She giggled at the thought, remembering the silly movies she sometimes watched with her dad. But as the lights came nearer, her smile faded. Whatever they weren't ordinary. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground beneath her feet. It wasn't loud, but it made her feel uneasy, like something big was about to happen. Suddenly the lights split apart, revealing shapes that looked nothing like airplanes or spaceships. Instead, enormous creatures emerged, their forms twisting and shifting as they descended. They were dragons, but not like the ones in storybooks. These dragons glowed faintly, their scales shimmering with colors that seemed to change depending on how you looked at them. Their wings stretched wide, casting strange shadows over the yard, and their eyes gleamed with intelligence. Lily froze, clutching her stuffed bunny tightly as her heart began to race. For a moment, everything went silent. Even the crickets stopped, chirping as though nature itself was holding its breath. Then, one of the dragons let out a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the air. It wasn't a roar exactly, it was softer, almost musical, but it sent shivers down Lily's spine. She wanted to run, to scream for her parents, but her legs wouldn't move. It was as if the dragons had pinned her in place with their gaze. Before she could gather her thoughts, the largest dragon extended one of its clawed limbs toward her. Its movements were slow and deliberate, almost gentle, but there was no mistaking its intent. With a sudden rush of panic, Lily tried to step back, but the dragon was too quick. In the blink of an eye, its claws wrapped around her, lifting her off the ground. She gasped, dropping her stuffed bunny as the world tilted sideways. Her home, her backyard. Everything she knew disappeared beneath her as the dragon carried her. Higher and higher into the sky, Lily's mind raced as tears streamed down her face. What did these creatures want with her? Where were they taking her? She squirmed in the dragon's grasp, but its hold was firm yet surprisingly careful. It didn't squeeze her or hurt, simply held her securely as it soared upward. Below, she could see the rooftops of her neighborhood shrinking until they looked like tiny specks. The fields and roads blurred together, becoming indistinguishable from one another. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the flight ended. The dragon landed gracefully on what appeared to be a floating platform made of smooth, glowing material. It set Lily down gently, stepping back to give her space. She stumbled slightly, her legs wobbling as she tried to regain her balance. Looking around, she realized she was no longer on Earth, at least not the Earth she recognized. The platform hovered in the middle of a vast expanse of darkness, dotted with swirling clouds of light. Above her, the sky or whatever it was seemed endless, filled with stars that twinkled like diamonds. All around her, other dragons circled silently, their glowing bodies casting soft, eerie light. Despite her fear, Lily couldn't help but notice how beautiful it all was. The colors, the sounds, the sense of being somewhere completely alien it was overwhelming, but also strangely mesmerizing. One of the dragons approached her again, this time lowering its massive head until it was level with hers. Its eyes locked onto hers, and for a brief moment she felt a connection, not words exactly, but emotions. It was as though the dragon was trying to tell her something, to reassure her that she wasn't in danger. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. Jack and Emma heard Lily's cries just moments after she was taken, rushing outside to find only her dropped stuffed bunny lying in the grass. Frantic, they called for her, searching every corner of their property, but it was clear she was gone. Neighbors gathered, offering help and calling the police, while others whispered about what they had seen in the sky. By the time authorities arrived, news of the mysterious lights and the missing girl had spread throughout the town. Word reached Ryan Carter, a man who lived on the outskirts of town. He wasn't originally from there. He had moved after leaving his job at NASA, but he still kept tabs on unusual events. When he heard about Lily's disappearance and the strange lights in the sky, he immediately suspected extraterrestrial involvement. Grabbing his laptop and a few gadgets he had built himself, he drove to the Thompson house, determined to uncover the truth. Little did anyone know, his arrival would set off a chain of events that would change not only Lily's fate but the future of humanity itself. The news of Lily's disappearance spread quickly through the small town. People gathered in groups, whispering about what they had seen or heard. Some claimed to have spotted strange lights in the sky earlier that evening, while others talked about mysterious sounds that didn't belong to anything natural. The Thompsons' backyard became a hub of activity as police officers searched for clues and neighbors offered their help. Flashlights cut through the darkness, and voices echoed across the quiet fields. But no one could find any trace of Lily. Jack and Emma were beside themselves with worry. They paced back and forth, clutching each other tightly as tears streamed down their faces. Every time someone approached them with questions, they struggled to answer, their minds overwhelmed by fear and confusion. "She was just playing outside," Emma kept saying, her voice trembling. "She was right here." Jack nodded silently, his jaw clenched as he tried to hold himself together for his wife's sake. But inside, he felt like the ground had been ripped out from under him as the hours passed. More people arrived at the scene: reporters, curious onlookers, and even a few amateur UFO enthusiasts who had heard rumors of the strange lights in the sky. The crowd grew louder and more chaotic, making it hard for anyone to focus. That's when Ryan Carter stepped out of his car. He was a tall man with short, sandy hair and glasses perched on his nose. His clothes were casual, a plain shirt and jeans, but the bag slung over his shoulder looked heavy, packed with gadgets and tools. He wasn't dressed like a scientist or an investigator, but there was something about the way he carried himself that made people take notice. Ryan had moved to the area a few years ago after leaving his job at NASA. He didn't talk much about why he had quit, but those who knew him understood that he was deeply interested in space and the possibility of life beyond Earth. Over time, he had built a reputation as someone who could make sense of things others couldn't. When he heard about Lily's abduction, he immediately suspected it wasn't a random event. Something bigger was going on, and he wanted to find out what. Walking up to the edge of the crowd, Ryan introduced himself to the police officer in charge. "I think I might be able to help," he said calmly. The officer raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "And how exactly would you do that?" he asked. Ryan didn't hesitate. "I've been tracking unusual energy readings in this area for weeks now. Whatever happened here tonight, it wasn't normal." The officer hesitated for a moment before nodding. "All right, but don't get in our way." With permission granted, Ryan got to work. He pulled out a handheld device from his bag, a piece of equipment he had designed himself. It looked like a cross between a smartphone and a metal detector, with blinking lights and a small screen displaying complex data. As he walked around the yard, the device began to pick up faint signals traces of energy left behind by whatever had taken Lily. These weren't ordinary readings. They pulsed in patterns that suggested advanced technology far beyond human capability. While Ryan collected data, another person joined the effort. Samantha Sam Brooks had arrived shortly after hearing about the incident. She was a linguist who specialized in decoding non-human languages, though most people simply called her the language lady. Sam was younger than Ryan, with curly blonde hair tied back into a ponytail and a determined expression on her face. Like Ryan, she believed this wasn't a simple kidnapping. It was something extraordinary. Sam approached Ryan cautiously, herself, and explaining her expertise. At first, Ryan seemed focused solely on his device. But when Sam mentioned her work with alien communication theories, his interest piqued. "If we're dealing with extraterrestrial beings," she said, "they'll likely try to communicate in some form. We just need to figure out how." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "That matches what I've been seeing. There are patterns here, repetitive sequences that could mean something." Together, Ryan and Sam began piecing together fragments of information. Using Ryan's energy readings and Sam's knowledge of symbolic communication, they started constructing a clearer picture of what might have happened. The data pointed toward a craft-like object hovering above the Thompson property before descending rapidly. This matched witness accounts of the glowing lights in the sky. More importantly, the energy signatures matched those reported during other unexplained disappearances around the world as dawn approached. Ryan and Sam shared their findings with the authorities. While many were still skeptical, the evidence was compelling enough to warrant further investigation. "These aren't random events," Ryan explained. "Whoever or whatever took Lily has been monitoring us for a while. They chose her specifically, which means she's important to them. But why Lily?" That question lingered heavily in everyone's minds. Was she merely a victim of circumstance, or did she possess something special that caught the attention of these beings? Sam had a theory. "Children often have open, adaptable minds," she suggested. "Maybe they see her as someone who can understand them, more bridge the gap between our species." Ow! Meanwhile, Jack and Emily listened to the discussion with mixed emotions. On one hand, they were grateful that people were taking the situation seriously. On the other hand, the idea of aliens abducting their daughter felt surreal and terrifying. "What if we never see her again?" Emily whispered, her voice breaking. Jack hugged her tightly, trying to offer comfort despite his own fears. "Have to believe she's okay," he murmured. "We have to." Back at his makeshift workstation, Ryan continued analyzing the data. He noticed something peculiar. The energy readings weren't just localized to the Thompson property. Similar patterns had appeared in other parts of the world, always followed by reports of strange phenomena. In some cases, people claimed to have encountered glowing creatures or received cryptic messages. None of these incidents had been fully explained, but they all shared one common thread. They hinted at intelligent extraterrestrial life. Sam joined Ryan, bringing along a laptop filled with research notes. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a series of symbols she had decoded from previous encounters. "They keep showing variations of the same message, something about balance, survival, and warning." Ryan frowned, studying the symbols. "Carefully, a warning? About what?" "That's the part I haven't figured out yet," Sam admitted. "But if we're interpreting this correctly, they're trying to tell us something urgent. And whatever it is, it involves humanity's future." The realization hit both of them at the same time. If these beings had taken Lily, it wasn't because they wanted to harm her. They needed her for reasons neither Ryan nor Sam fully understood yet. But one thing was certain. Finding Lily wasn't just about bringing her home. It was about uncovering the truth behind the mysterious forces watching over Earth and deciding whether humanity was ready to face it. Lily stood on the glowing platform, her heart pounding as she tried to make sense of where she was. The world around her felt both beautiful and strange, like a dream that had come to life. Above her, the sky, or whatever it was, stretched, endlessly filled with swirling clouds of light and stars that sparkled brighter than anything she had ever seen. Below her feet, the surface of the platform pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive. It wasn't cold or hard like metal. Instead, it felt warm and smooth, like touching the softest fabric. The dragons circled around her, their massive forms casting shadows that danced across the glowing ground. They didn't speak in words, at least. Not in any language Lily understood, but they communicated in other ways. Through deep, resonant hums and flashes of color that rippled across their scales, they seemed to be sharing thoughts and emotions. At first, Lily was scared. She wanted to cry out for her parents, to beg the dragons to take her home. But something stopped her. There was no anger or malice in their presence. Instead, they radiated a sense of calm, as though they were trying. To comfort her, one dragon stood out from the rest. It was larger than the others, its body shimmering with a golden hue that shifted into shades of blue and green. Its eyes glowed softly, locking onto Lily's with an intensity that made her feel both small and important at the same time. Slowly, it lowered its head until it was level with hers. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, and then Lily felt something incredible happen. Images began to flood her mind. Not her own memories, but visions sent by the dragon. She saw Earth from space, a fragile blue sphere surrounded by darkness. The oceans sparkled under sunlight, and the continents looked like puzzle pieces fitting together perfectly. But then the image changed. The once vivid colors faded, replaced by gray skies and barren landscapes. Forests turned into deserts, rivers dried up, and cities crumbled into ruins. People wandered aimlessly, their faces etched with despair. What? Was a vision of destruction, but it didn't feel like fiction. It felt real, as though it could happen, or maybe already was happening. Lily gasped, stepping back instinctively. The dragon didn't move, its gaze steady and unwavering. More images came faster this time. She saw factories spewing smoke into the air, ice caps melting into the sea, and animals disappearing one by one. Then the scene shifted again, showing people arguing, fighting over resources, and ignoring the damage they were causing. The message was clear: humanity was destroying its own home. But the visions didn't stop there. After showing the bleak future, the dragon shared another set of images, this time filled with hope. People worked together to plant trees, clean polluted rivers, and build machines powered by sunlight and wind. Smiles returned to their faces, and the planet healed little by little. The contrast between the two futures was striking, and Lily understood what the dragon was trying to say. Humanity had a choice to continue down the path of destruction or to change course and save itself. As the images faded, Lily found herself trembling not from fear, but from the weight of what she had just experienced. She looked up at the dragon, her eyes wide with wonder and confusion. "Why are you showing me this?" she whispered, even though she knew it couldn't understand her words. The dragon tilted its head slightly, as if acknowledging her question. Then it let out a low hum, the sound vibrating through the air and filling her with a strange sense of peace. Over the next few hours, Lily began to adjust to her surroundings. The dragons didn't treat her like a prisoner. Instead, they acted more like guardians, watching over her carefully. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, one of them would approach her, sending calming waves of emotion through their connection. Still missed her parents terribly and longed to go home, but part of her couldn't help feeling awed by the experience. These creatures weren't monsters. They were intelligent beings with a purpose. While Lily struggled to process everything, Ryan and Sam worked tirelessly to uncover more clues about the mysterious abduction. Back at his makeshift lab, Ryan analyzed the energy readings he had collected from the Thompson property. Patterns were complex, but he noticed something intriguing. The signals weren't random. They formed sequences that repeated themselves, almost like a code. "It's deliberate," he muttered to himself, jotting down notes. "They're trying to communicate." Sam joined him, bringing along a fresh batch of research. "I've been looking into similar cases," she said, spreading papers across the table. In every instance where someone claimed to encounter extraterrestrial beings, there were reports of warnings messages about environmental collapse, war, or some kind of global catastrophe. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "That matches what we're seeing here. Whatever took Lily is trying to send us a message. But why her?" Sam asked, voicing the question that had been lingering in everyone's minds. Why not an adult? Or a scientist? Ryan shrugged. Maybe it's because she's young. Kids are open-minded. They don't have preconceived notions about how things should work. If these beings are trying to bridge the gap between our species, they might see her as the perfect candidate. As they talked, Jack and Emma sat nearby, listening intently. They had insisted on staying close to Ryan and Sam, desperate for any information that might lead them to their daughter. Hearing theories about aliens and global warnings was overwhelming, but they clung to the hope that it meant Lily was still alive. Do you think she understands what's happening? Emma asked quietly, her voice trembling. Ryan hesitated before answering. I don't know. But if these beings chose her, they must believe she can handle it. Meanwhile, far above Earth, Lily continued learning from the dragons. Over time, their communication became clearer. She realized they weren't just showing her images, they were teaching her. Each vision came with feelings and ideas that helped her grasp their meaning. For example, when they showed her a dying forest, she felt sadness and urgency. Showed her people working together to heal the land, she felt joy and determination. It was as though they were downloading knowledge directly into her mind. One day, or what felt like a day. Since time seemed to flow differently aboard the ship, the golden dragon approached her again. This time, it brought something with it. A small, glowing orb that hovered in the air between them. The orb pulsed rhythmically, emitting soft tones that resonated with Lily's heartbeat. Reaching out cautiously, she touched it with her fingertips. Instantly, a flood of new information rushed into her mind. She saw diagrams of Earth's ecosystems, charts showing rising temperatures, and maps highlighting areas most affected by pollution. She also saw solutions, ways to fix the problem, step by step. When the orb dimmed and floated away, Lily felt different. She wasn't just a scared little girl anymore. She was beginning to understand the dragon's mission and her role in it. They weren't kidnappers or invaders. They were messengers, sent to warn humanity about the dangers it faced. And somehow, they believed she could help deliver that warning. Back on Earth, Ryan and Sam pieced together more fragments of the puzzle. Using advanced algorithms and cross-referencing data from past encounters, they identified key elements of the extraterrestrial message. Balance, Sam said, pointing to a recurring symbol in her notes. Survival, warning. These are the main themes. Ryan nodded. An urgency. Whatever they're trying to tell us, it can't wait. As dawn broke over the town, Ryan turned to Jack and Emma. We need to act quickly, he said. If we can decode enough of their message, we might be able to establish contact, maybe even bring Lily back. The Thompsons exchanged hopeful glances, clinging to the possibility that their daughter would return safely. But deep down, they knew the stakes were higher than just one family. Whatever the dragons wanted, it involved all of humanity, and the clock was ticking. As the sun rose over the small town, Ryan and Sam worked tirelessly to decode the mysterious signals left behind by the alien dragons. Their makeshift lab was a flurry of activity. Computers hummed, papers scattered across tables, and diagrams covered the walls. Ryan focused on analyzing the energy readings he had collected from the Thompson property, while Sam pored over her notes, trying to find patterns in the symbols she had decoded from previous encounters with extraterrestrial phenomena. Ryan's device, which he called a signal interpreter, buzzed softly as it processed the data. He had designed it to detect and translate unusual frequencies, and now it was picking up faint traces of communication embedded within the energy signatures. The patterns were complex but repetitive, almost like a language. This isn't random. Noise, Ryan said, pointing to a series of waveforms displayed on his screen. It's structured. They're sending a message. Sam leaned closer, studying the patterns. Look here, she said, tracing a sequence with her finger. These spikes, they match symbols I've seen before. In other cases, they represented concepts like balance or harmony. She flipped through her notebook, showing Ryan examples of similar patterns found in ancient carvings and modern UFO reports. If we can map these symbols too, meanings, we might be able to understand what they're saying. While Ryan and Sam worked on decoding the message, Jack and Emma waited anxiously nearby. They had spent the night pacing back and forth, their minds racing with questions about Lily. Was she safe? Was she scared? What were those creatures doing to her? Every time Ryan or Sam shared an update, they listened intently, clinging to any scrap of hope. The complexity of the situation was overwhelming. Alien messages, global warnings, it all felt like something out of a movie, not real life. Do you think she knows what's happening? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan hesitated before answering. I don't know for sure, he admitted. But if these beings chose her, they must believe she can handle it. His words offered little comfort, but they reminded Jack and Emma that Lily wasn't just a victim. She was part of something bigger, even if none of them fully understood. What that meant yet? Back aboard the alien ship, Lily was beginning to grasp the enormity of the dragon's mission. The Golden Dragon, whom she had come to see as a kind of leader, continued teaching her. It showed her more visions of Earth's future, both the bleak path of destruction and the hopeful possibility of renewal. Each vision came with emotions, so vivid that Lily could feel them in her chest. Sadness, fear, determination, and joy. She realized the dragons weren't just warning her. They were asking for help. One day the Golden Dragon brought the glowing orb back to her. This time it floated lower, hovering directly in front of her face. Its light pulsed gently, and when Lily reached out to touch it, she felt a surge of understanding flood her mind. The orb wasn't just sharing information, it was teaching her how to communicate. Words formed in her thoughts, clear and precise, though she didn't speak them aloud. She learned phrases like, Earth is dying, and you must act. More importantly, she learned how to respond. Lily practiced silently at first, forming thoughts in her mind and letting the orb absorb them. When she thought, why me? The orb glowed brighter and sent back an image of herself surrounded by people. She saw herself speaking to crowds, holding up pictures of the planet and urging others to listen. The message was clear. The dragons believed she could be a bridge between their species and humanity. They saw her as someone who could inspire change. As days passed, or what felt like days, since time seemed fluid aboard the ship, Lee grew more confident. She no longer felt afraid of the dragons. Instead, she felt connected to them, as though they were partners in a shared mission. She began to ask questions using the orb, and the dragons responded with patience and care. Through their guidance, she pieced together fragments of their story. They belonged to a group called the Guardians, beings tasked with protecting planets across the universe from collapse. Earth was one of many worlds on the brink of disaster, and the Guardians had intervened countless times before. But this time, they needed humanity's cooperation to succeed. Meanwhile, Ryan and Sam made significant progress in deciphering the alien message. By combining Ryan's energy readings with Sam's linguistic expertise, they identified key themes: environmental collapse, unity, and urgency. The message wasn't just a warning, it was a plea for action. They're telling us we have a choice, Sam explained. We can either fix our mistakes or face the consequences. Ryan nodded, his expression serious. And they're running. Out of patience. If we don't act soon, they might decide we're beyond saving. The thought sent a chill through the room. Humanity's fate hung in the balance. The clock was ticking. Determined to establish contact, Ryan modified his signal interpreter to send a response. Using the patterns they had decoded, he crafted a simple message. We hear you. Show us the way. He transmitted it into the sky, hoping the dragons would receive it. For hours, they waited nervously, unsure if their attempt had worked. Then, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the device lit up with a new signal. It was faint, but unmistakably reply. They answered, Ryan whispered, his voice filled with awe. On the screen, a series of symbols appeared, accompanied by a low melodic hum. Sam quickly translated them. They want to meet, she said. But not just with us, with leaders. With everyone. The implications were staggering. If the aliens were willing to negotiate, it meant there was still hope. But convincing world leaders to take the threat seriously would be no easy task. Night, Ryan and Sam shared their findings with Jack and Emma. "We think we can bring Lily back," Ryan said cautiously. "But it won't be easy. We'll need to organize a meeting with the Dragon's End. That means involving governments and scientists." Jack and Emma exchanged worried glances. The idea of confronting alien beings was terrifying, but they knew they had no choice. If it meant getting their daughter back, they were willing to do whatever it took. The next morning, Ryan contacted a network of researchers and activists he had worked with in the past. Together, they drafted a proposal outlining the situation and urging immediate action. They included evidence of the energy readings, decoded messages, and witness accounts of the dragons. Within hours, news of the discovery spread, reaching top officials and sparking debates around the world. While humanity grappled with the revelation, Lily prepared for her role. The golden dragon approached her one final time, its eyes glowing with warmth and trust. Through the orb, it conveyed a single message: "You are ready." Lily nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. She didn't fully understand what lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain: she had to try. For her family, for her planet, and for the future of all living things. She would do whatever it took to make a difference. As dawn broke over the horizon, the pieces of the puzzle began falling into place. Humanity stood on the brink of a decision that would shape its destiny, and Lily, a brave 8-year-old girl, was at the center of it all. The days that followed were a blur of activity for Ryan and Sam as they worked to organize a meeting with the alien dragons. Their proposal had gained traction quickly, thanks in part to the growing number of people who believed in their findings. News outlets picked up the story, sharing images of the energy readings and decoded messages. Scientists around the world began analyzing the data, confirming its authenticity. Governments, though initially skeptical, couldn't ignore the mounting evidence saw the potential consequences of ignoring it. Ryan spent most of his time coordinating with officials, explaining the urgency of the situation. "This isn't just about Lily," he emphasized during one tense meeting with military leaders. "It's about all of us. These beings are trying to warn us about something catastrophic. If we don't act now, it might be too late." His words carried weight, especially when paired with Sam's translations of the alien symbols. Together, they painted a picture of a planet on the brink of collapse and a chance to change course. Sam, meanwhile, focused on preparing humanity for what might come next. She knew communication would be key. The dragon's language wasn't based on words, but on emotions, images, and abstract concepts. To bridge the gap between species, she created a system of visual aids, diagrams, charts, and videos that could convey Earth's willingness to listen. Her goal was simple: to show the dragons that humans were ready to cooperate. As plans for the meeting took shape, Jack and Emma remained at the center of it all. They were invited to every discussion, their presence serving as a reminder of what was truly at stake. For them, this wasn't an academic exercise or a political negotiation. It was personal. Every decision made, every step taken, brought them closer to seeing their daughter again, yet the uncertainty weighed heavily on them. What if the dragons refused to return Lily? What if the meeting went wrong? Despite their fears, they stayed strong, drawing strength from each other and from the hope that Lily was safe. That hope was reinforced when Ryan received another transmission from the dragons. This time, the message was clearer than ever. "Bring your leaders, bring your voices. We will meet you where the sky meets the sea." The location described matched a remote area of the Pacific Ocean, a place far from cities and distractions, where the vastness of nature mirrored the enormity of the task ahead. Preparations for the meeting required careful planning. A team of scientists, diplomats, and military personnel assembled to represent humanity. Ryan insisted on keeping the group small, fearing that too many people might overwhelm the dragons. He also pushed for transparency, ensuring that the mission's goals were shared openly with the public. Trust, he argued, was essential not just between humans and aliens, but among humans themselves. While the team prepared, Lily continued her training aboard the alien ship. The golden dragon guided her through increasingly complex lessons, teaching her how to use the glowing orb to communicate more effectively. At first, forming thoughts into coherent messages felt awkward, like learning a new language. But with practice, Lily grew more confident. She learned how to express ideas like "help us," and "we can work together." Using a combination of emotions and visuals, one day the golden dragon showed her an image of Earth surrounded by swirling clouds of light. In the center of the picture stood a tiny figure, Lily herself. The dragon hummed softly, conveying a sense of pride and purpose. Through the orb, Lily understood. She was meant to stand between two worlds, bridging the gap between humanity and the Guardians. It was a daunting responsibility, but she no longer felt afraid. Instead, she felt determined to do whatever it took to make things right. The night before the meeting, Ryan and Sam gathered the team for a final briefing. They reviewed the plan. A specially equipped aircraft would carry them to the designated location over the Pacific Ocean. Once there, they would attempt to establish contact using both technology and the visual aids Sam had prepared. If successful, they hoped to negotiate Lily's safe return and perhaps gain insight into the Guardian's warnings. Jack and Emma sat quietly during the briefing, holding hands tightly. They listened as Ryan explained the risks involved. "We don't know how the dragons will react," he admitted. "They've shown no signs of hostility so far, but we can't assume anything. Our priority is to stay calm and respectful." Though his words offered little reassurance, the Thompsons nodded, knowing they had to trust the process. As the team boarded the aircraft early the next morning, Lily watched from the alien ship. The dragons had positioned themselves high above the meeting site, observing silently. The golden dragon hovered close to her, its glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. Through the orb, Lily received a message. "You are brave. You are strong. Trust yourself." Far below, the aircraft descended toward the meeting point. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, its surface shimmering under the morning sun. As the team disembarked onto a floating platform designed for the occasion, they looked up, searching for any sign of the dragons. For a moment, there was only silence, the sound of waves lapping against the platform and the distant cry of seabirds. Then, without warning, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered overhead, swirling into a massive vortex of light and color. From within the vortex emerged the dragons, their massive forms gliding gracefully through the air. The team froze, awestruck by the sight. The creatures were even more magnificent up close, their scales shimmering with hues that seemed to shift and dance. They circled the platform once before descending, landing gently around the edges. For several long moments, no one moved. Humans and dragons faced each other, separated by a gulf of understanding, yet united by a shared purpose. Finally, Ryan stepped forward, holding up one of Sam's visual aids, a large poster depicting Earth alongside symbols of peace and cooperation. He spoke slowly and clearly, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We hear you. We want to help. Please show us the way." The golden dragon raised its head, locking eyes with Ryan. Then it turned toward Lily, who stood at the edge of the vortex, watching intently. With a soft hum, it beckoned her forward. Lily hesitated briefly before stepping off the alien ship and onto the platform. Her parents gasped, tears streaming down their faces as they rushed to embrace her. For a moment, nothing else mattered. They were together again, but the reunion was short-lived. Lily pulled away gently, turning back to face the dragons. "The orb," she sent a message. "We are listening. Tell us what to do." The golden dragon responded with a series of images: forests regrowing, rivers flowing clean, skies clearing. It showed humanity working together, building machines powered by sunlight, planting trees, and healing the planet. The vision ended with a single word, conveyed not in English, but in a feeling that resonated deeply within everyone present: hope. As the meeting concluded, the dragons rose into the air, disappearing into the vortex. Before vanishing completely, the golden dragon sent one final message, not just to Lily, but to all of humanity. Through the orb, it conveyed a promise. "We will watch, we will guide, but the choice is yours." When the vortex faded, leaving only the bright blue sky behind, the team stood in stunned silence. They had done it. They had made contact. And though much remained uncertain, one thing was clear. The future of Earth depended not on the dragons, but on humanity itself. Armed with newfound knowledge and resolve, the team returned home, ready to share the Guardian's message with the world. Lily, now reunited with her family, carried the weight of that message in her heart, knowing she had played a vital role in shaping what came next. After the meeting with the alien dragons, the world changed in ways no one could have predicted. News of the encounter spread rapidly, capturing the attention of billions. Videos of the dragons circling the platform over the Pacific Ocean went viral, and debates erupted across every corner of the globe, so people dismissed the event as a hoax, while others embraced it as proof of humanity's place in a vast, interconnected universe. But for those who had been part of the mission, including Ryan, Sam, Jack, Emma, and especially Lily, the experience was deeply personal. Lily returned home to a mix of emotions. On one hand, she was overjoyed to be reunited with her parents. The warmth of their hugs, the sound of their voices, and the familiarity of her own bedroom brought her comfort after days aboard the alien ship. But on the other hand, she couldn't shake the sense of responsibility that now weighed heavily on her young shoulders. The Golden Dragon's final message echoed in her mind. The choice is yours. She knew the Guardians weren't just talking about her, they were speaking to all of humanity. Back at school, Lily struggled to adjust. Her classmates bombarded her with questions about the dragons, asking if they were scary or if she had been. Afraid at first, she tried to answer honestly, describing the beauty and intelligence of the creatures. But soon she realized that words couldn't fully capture what she had experienced. How could she explain the glowing orb, the visions of Earth's future, or the deep connection she had felt with beings so different from herself? Instead, she smiled politely and changed the subject, keeping much of her story to herself. At home, things were quieter, but no less complicated. Jack and Emma did their best to shield Lily from the media frenzy surrounding her return. Reporters camped outside their house, eager for an interview or even a glimpse of the girl who had spoken with aliens. Phone calls poured in from strangers offering praise, advice, or criticism. Some called Lily a hero. Others accused her family of fabricating the story for attention. Through it all, Jack and Emma remained protective, determined to give their daughter space to heal. Ryan and Sam became regular visitors to the Thompson household. They checked in often, not only to see how Lily was doing, but also to discuss the next steps. The meeting with the dragons had provided clarity, but it had also raised new questions. What exactly did the Guardians expect humanity to do? How could such a divided species come together to address global problems like climate change, pollution, and resource depletion? These were daunting challenges, and the clock was ticking to help guide humanity's response. Ryan and Sam organized a series of international summits. Scientists, politicians, activists, and community leaders gathered to share ideas and create action plans. The visual aids Sam had prepared during the initial meeting proved invaluable, serving as a foundation for discussions. Images of forests regrowing, clean energy solutions, and cooperative efforts resonated deeply with attendees. Slowly but surely, a framework began to emerge, a blueprint for healing the planet. Lily played a key role in these efforts, though. Her involvement was carefully managed. Ryan and Sam believed her unique perspective could inspire others, but they also understood the importance of protecting her childhood. With her parents' permission, they arranged for Lily to speak at select events, sharing her story in simple terms that anyone could understand. Standing before crowds of adults, she held up pictures of Earth and spoke about the two futures she had seen, one bleak and broken, the other hopeful and thriving. "We can fix this," she would say, her voice steady despite her age. "We have to work together." Her words struck a chord. People listened not because she was a child, but because her message carried authenticity. She hadn't read about environmental destruction in books or watched documentaries about endangered species. She had seen it firsthand, through the eyes of beings who had witnessed countless planets teetering on the edge of collapse. Her sincerity moved hearts and minds, sparking conversations that transcended borders and ideologies. As momentum grew, governments around the world began implementing changes. Renewable energy projects received unprecedented funding. Reforestation initiatives expanded, and stricter regulations were put in place to reduce pollution. Corporations faced pressure to adopt sustainable practices, and individuals started making small but meaningful adjustments in their daily lives. It wasn't perfect. There were setbacks and disagreements, but progress was undeniable. Still, not everyone welcomed the shift. Skeptics argued that the Guardians' warnings were exaggerated or fabricated. Some claimed the entire incident was a ploy by scientists and activists to push radical agendas. Others simply refused to believe that extraterrestrial beings existed at all. Despite the backlash, Ryan and Sam remained steadfast. They shared data openly, invited critics to examine the evidence, and encouraged dialogue rather than division. For Lily, the hardest part wasn't dealing with skeptics, it was learning to live with the weight of what she knew. She often dreamed of the golden dragon, its glowing eyes filled with both hope and urgency. In her dreams, it reminded her of the stakes. Failure meant not just the loss of Earth, but the loss of everything humanity held dear. When she woke, she sometimes felt overwhelmed, wondering if she was doing enough. Parents reassured her as best they could, reminding her that she was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. One evening, as the sun set over the fields behind their house, Lily sat outside with her stuffed bunny, staring at the horizon. Ryan and Sam had joined them for dinner, and the conversation had turned to the future. "Do you think the Guardians will come back?" Lily asked quietly, her gaze fixed on the sky. Ryan hesitated before answering. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think they'll be watching. If we succeed, if we show them that we're serious about fixing things, I think they'll be proud." Sam nodded, adding, "You've already made a difference, Lily. You've given people hope. That's something they'll carry with them, no matter what happens next." Lily smiled faintly, feeling a flicker of pride amidst the uncertainty. She didn't need awards or recognition. She just wanted to know that her efforts mattered. As weeks turned into months, the impact of the Guardian's message continued to ripple outward. Schools introduced lessons on sustainability, teaching children about the importance of caring for the planet. Artists created murals and songs inspired by the vision of a healed Earth. Even corporations began shifting their priorities, realizing that long-term survival depended on cooperation rather than competition. Through it all, Lily remained a symbol of unity. Though she never sought fame, her courage and determination inspired millions. People began referring to her as the girl who saved the world, though she insisted she hadn't done anything special. "I just told the truth," she said. Whenever someone praised her, that's all any of us can do. Meanwhile, Ryan and Sam kept searching for signs of the Guardians. Using advanced equipment, they monitored the skies for any trace of the dragon's energy signatures. Occasionally, they detected faint signals, echoes of the same patterns they had decoded before, but nothing concrete. Whether the dragons were still observing or had moved on to another planet, no one could say for sure. Despite the unanswered questions, life began to feel more stable. The Thompsons settled back into their routines, finding joy in simple moments like family dinners and weekend outings. Jack and Emma marveled at how resilient their daughter was, even as they worried about the burden she carried. They encouraged her to keep dreaming, to imagine a future where humans and Guardians worked side by side. Late one night, as Lily lay in bed, she thought about the golden dragon. She wondered if it missed her, or if it thought about Earth at all. Closing her eyes, she whispered a silent thank for showing her the truth, for trusting her with such an important mission, and for giving humanity a second chance. Then, drifting off to sleep, she dreamed of stars twinkling in an endless sky and glowing creatures dancing among them. In the end, the story of a little girl trapped by alien dragons wasn't just about fear or mystery. It was about connection, responsibility, and the power of hope. Humanity had been given a warning and a choice. What happened next would depend not on the dragons, but on the actions of ordinary people working together to create extraordinary change, and somewhere, perhaps light years away, the Guardians watched and waited, believing in the potential of a species trying to find its way. As months passed, the world continued to grapple with the changes sparked by the Guardians' message. The initial wave of excitement had settled into a steady rhythm of action, but challenges remained. Not everyone agreed on how to move forward, and disagreements often led to tension. Some argued that the proposed solutions were too expensive or impractical, while others believed they didn't go far enough. Despite these obstacles, progress was undeniable. Renewable energy projects expanded, reforestation efforts gained momentum, and communities around the globe came together to address local environmental issues. For Lily, life began to feel more balanced. She still thought about the golden dragon and the glowing orb, but the memories no longer overwhelmed her. Instead, they gave her strength a reminder of why she had been chosen and what she could contribute. Her parents did their best to shield her from the ongoing debates, focusing instead on helping her enjoy being a child. They encouraged her to play outside, read books, and spend time with friends. Yet even in those moments of normalcy, Lily couldn't help but notice the subtle shifts happening all around her at school. Teachers incorporated lessons about sustainability into the curriculum. Students learned about ecosystems, renewable resources, and the importance of protecting the planet. Lily's classmates often turned to her for insights, knowing she had first-hand experience with the Guardian's message. How she didn't claim to have all the answers, she shared what she knew in simple terms. We only have one Earth, and we need to take care of it. Her words resonated deeply, inspiring her peers to think differently about their roles in the world. Meanwhile, Ryan and Sam remained at the forefront of the global effort. They traveled frequently, attending conferences, meeting with leaders, and sharing updates on humanity's progress. Their work wasn't easy. There were setbacks, delays, and moments of frustration, but they refused to give up. Each small victory fueled their determination to keep pushing forward. Whether it was a new solar farm opening in a rural village, or a city banning single-use plastics, every step mattered. One day, Ryan received a call that sent a jolt of excitement through him. A team of scientists monitoring atmospheric conditions reported unusual activity, faint but distinct energy, signatures similar to the ones associated with the dragons. It wasn't strong enough to pinpoint a location, but it suggested the Guardians might still be watching. Ryan immediately contacted Sam. Together, they devised a plan to investigate further, using equipment they had developed specifically for tracking alien signals. Ryan and Sam set out to follow the trail. They enlisted the help of a few trusted colleagues, including experts in aerospace engineering and astrophysics. Their goal was twofold: to determine whether the dragons were nearby, and if possible, to establish contact again. Though they weren't sure what kind of response they would receive, if any, they felt it was worth trying. The search took them to remote locations across the globe. From deserts to mountaintops to isolated islands, along the way they encountered unexpected challenges. Equipment malfunctioned, weather conditions turned harsh, and logistical hurdles tested their patience. But through it all, they remained focused, driven by the belief that reconnecting with the Guardians could provide humanity with the guidance it desperately needed. Back home, Lily sensed something was happening. Ryan and Sam visited less frequently, and when they did, they seemed distracted. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, she finally asked, "Are you looking for the dragons?" Both adults exchanged glances before nodding. "Yes," Sam admitted. "We're trying to find them. We think they might still be out there watching us." Lily's eyes widened with curiosity. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked softly. Ryan hesitated before answering. "I don't know," he said, "but if they do, we want to be ready. We owe it to them. Man, to everyone to show that we're serious about making things right." Inspired by their dedication, Lily decided to contribute in her own way. She began writing letters not to people, but to the dragons. Sitting at her desk with a notebook and pencil, she poured her thoughts onto the pages. In each letter, she described what she had seen since returning home, the trees being planted, the rivers becoming cleaner, the smiles on people's faces as they worked together. She also wrote about her fears, the doubts she sometimes felt, and the questions she couldn't answer. When she finished a letter, she folded it neatly and tucked it into a box under her bed, imagining the golden dragon reading her words someday. While Lily wrote, Ryan and Sam's search led them to an unexpected discovery. High above the Pacific Ocean, near the same area where the meeting had taken place, they detected a faint signal emanating from what appeared to be a cloaked object. It wasn't visible to the naked eye, but their instruments confirmed its presence. Excited yet cautious, they decided to approach it cautiously, using a specially equipped aircraft designed to minimize interference. As the plane drew closer, the signal grew stronger. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered, and the cloaked object revealed itself a massive, organic-looking ship, unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface pulsed with bioluminescent light, casting an ethereal glow across the sky. The sight left everyone aboard speechless. They had found the Dragon Zor, at least their vessel. Ryan activated the communication system, sending a carefully crafted message. "We are here to listen. Please speak to us." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, a low he-hummed filled the air, resonating through the aircraft. The golden dragon emerged from the ship, its massive form glowing brighter than ever. It circled the plane once before settling into a position directly in front of them. Through a combination of images, emotions, and tones, the dragon conveyed a message. "You have begun. Continue." Ryan and Sam exchanged relieved smiles, realizing the Guardians were acknowledging humanity's efforts. Encouraged, they asked if Lily could join them. To their surprise, the dragon nodded, extending a clawed limb toward the aircraft. With careful coordination, they arranged for Lily and her parents to meet them at the site. When Jack and Emma heard about the plan, they were hesitant. The idea of facing the dragons again was both thrilling and terrifying. But Lily reassured them, her voice steady despite her youth. "It's okay," she said. "They're not scary. They just want to help." Trusting her instincts, they agreed to go. The reunion aboard the platform over the ocean was emotional. Lily ran to the golden dragon, wrapping her arms around its leg as best she could. The creature hummed softly, conveying warmth and pride. Through the glowing orb, it showed her new visions, images of Earth, continuing to heal. Forests growing denser, oceans teeming with life. It also shared glimpses of other planets, some thriving and others struggling, reminding her that humanity wasn't alone in its journey. Before departing, the dragon gave Lily one final gift, a small glowing crystal that pulsed gently in her hand. Through the orb, it explained that the crystal would serve as a reminder of their connection, a beacon of hope whenever she doubted herself or the path ahead. As the ship ascended into the sky, disappearing into the clouds, Lily clutched the crystal tightly, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Back on Earth, news of the encounter reignited global enthusiasm. People celebrated the confirmation that the Guardians were still watching, offering humanity another chance to prove itself. Governments redoubled their efforts, and grassroots movements gained even more traction. For Lily, the crystal became a cherished keepsake, a symbol of the bond she shared with beings from beyond the stars. Though the road ahead was long and uncertain, humanity had taken a crucial step. Guided by the Guardians' warnings and inspired by the courage of a little girl, people around the world committed themselves to building a better future. And somewhere, perhaps light years away, the golden dragon watched and waited, believing in the potential of a species learning to find its way.